you. So, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be examining the famous CRTC. Probably one of the terms we'll come across the most often over the course of the semester. For this following module, for this week, we're going to be taking apart the CRTC. CRTC, by the way, which is an acronym that stands for the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunication Commission. The Commission actually essentially acts as an officer of the regulations in the country, sort of the RCMP of communication. It licenses every single radio and television station in the country, as well as the internet providers and mobility service providers as well. So the CRTC plays a very fundamental role in our program by determining the laws, the parameters that every single player must abide by. So every time there's a conflict, every time there's a new product, the CRTC obviously has to decide whether it's for the advantage of the Canadian consumer and radio, television viewer and whatnot. As we'll notice throughout the remaining 9 modules, the CRTC permeates just about every sector of the media industry in Canada. One of the leading points of contention has been over the last 10 to 15 years, the high price that Canadians typically pay for their mobile services. So CRTC this year, as it's been doing for the last 5 years and probably for the next 5 years as well, we'll be looking at ways to reduce our monthly bill by implementing some regulations that will have at the same time a positive appeal to both the incumbents, those that currently lead the sector, as well as the new entrants. Another element that's extremely important has to do with CanCon. It stands for Canadian Content. The CRTC establishes quotas, for example, for radio stations. What percentage of the music that airs on the airwaves has to be produced by Canadian artists. Likewise for television programs, a certain percentage of the programs that are broadcast during prime time have to be produced here in Canada, featuring Canadian artists and what have you. So these are some of the examples that illustrates the predominant role that the CRTC plays in our everyday life. And as we'll see throughout the remaining modules, in mobility, in just about everywhere, mind you, but in the print media, a sector that's not regulated by the CRTC.